Welcome. Today is 27th September 2024, and the important takeaways from today's Hindu newspaper are: in page number 1, central government advises Indian nationals to leave Lebanon, considers naval evacuation. So India has strongly advised its national to leave Lebanon, and basically Lebanon hosts around 3,000 Indians at present. And all Indian nationals in Lebanon are strongly advised to leave Lebanon. Those who remain for any reason are advised to exercise extreme caution, restrict their movements, and remain in contact with the Embassy of India. And they have given some contact number. So why this happening is, as we have known that there is a crisis in the Lebanon because of ongoing conflict between the Israel and Hamas, and government have have been involved in similar operations such as Operation Rahat in 2015 during the Yemen crisis also. And next article: Supreme Court dismisses a petition to review adverse remarks against Gujarat government in Bilkis Bano judgment. So what is Bilkis Bano judgment? Now we look on. The Bilkis Bano judgment case is one of the most significant legal battles in the Indian judicial history, because it highlights the issues of justice and women rights, and also communal violence. And the background of Bilkis Bano is Bilkis Bano was a victim of gang rape during the 2002 Gujarat riots, and which erupted following the Godhra train burning incident. And Bano, who was 5 months pregnant at a time, she was attacked along with her family while fleeing the violence. And 14 members of her family were killed, and she was brutally assaulted, and some people said that she was raped also. And this Gujarat riots happened in 2002, and you can see the Godhra files. There is a documentary if you want to explore more. And what happened? Why now the case is there is there is a controversial release in 2022 of 11 prisoners who are convicted in Bilkis Bano's case, and many people have invited with garlands, and that's a big controversy that have taken place in the last year. And it is raising debates on the judicial system's handling of high profile cases and application of remission laws also, because last year they have given a remission for that. And also we'll switch to the next article. Just scroll. A new pact to be signed between Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh for modified river linking project, and this project is expected to ensure optimum utilization of water resources available in the Chambal basin. So a new memorandum of agreement will be signed shortly between Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh governments for implementation a modified project for linking of this eastern Rajasthan canal project with Parvati, Kali Sindh, and Chambal rivers. Now, in this perspective, we have to know what is a river linking project and what are the constitutional provisions for that. And these interlinking river linking projects are aimed at interlinking rivers across the country to address basically the water scarcity, flood control, and irrigation. And it involves a significant constitutional and legal provisions. And water is a state subject. And this constitutional provisions are in state list entry number 17. Water is primarily a state subject under the Indian Constitution. So this entry grants states the power to legislate on issues related to water supplies, irrigation, canals, drainage, water storage, and water power. And in 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution, entry number 56 in Union list, and this entry allows the central government to regulate and develop interstate rivers and river valleys in the public interest. So the river linking project involves rivers that flows through multiple states, making this provision crucial for center to take necessary. And also there is other article number 262. This article empowers the parliament to enact laws for adjudication of disputes or conflicts involving interstate rivers or river valleys. And it also allows the parliament to bar the Supreme Court and other courts from intervening in such disputes. So, for example, in 1956, there is one interstate dispute, and central government have addressed it between states. This disputes act is related to the Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal and Krishna Water Dispute Tribunal. And in the recent days also we have seen the conflict between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu governments regarding water supply in the summer season. In June and July news were there regarding that, and you can look on that also. And this success of river linking projects depends on the cooperative federalism between state and the center, and also between states also, that is there. And next article, page number. Today there are not much important articles in UPSC perspective. So they have given an editorial about Tamil Nadu, about investments and all. This MK Stalin went to meet Narendra Modi for requesting for more grants. That is there. It's not required for UPSC. And also an opportunity to rethink India's pension system. This is about the new pension scheme and old pension scheme and the differences and policy drawbacks, etc., etc. And there is no pension related question in the PYQ, so we are now negating this particular editorial. Next article: storms brewing in East South China Seas. So, in the last few years, the maritime East Asia has become an arena for intensified power politics. So, this article is about the China and the aggression of China in the South China Sea. So, basically, the East China Sea borders countries like China, Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea. And China asserts that the Senkaku and Diaoyu Islands, which is located in the East China Sea and under Japanese control, belong to Beijing. They are saying China, and there have been multiple crises over these islands in the past also. And the South China Sea lies between China, Taiwan, and five Southeast Asian countries. One is Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Philippines, and Indonesia. You can refer to maps video regarding the locations of this Southeast Asian countries. I have made a video. And why are the seas important to China is it gives a prism of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national security. And China's defense white paper issued in 2019, it declares that South China Sea Islands and Diaoyu Islands are inalienable parts of the Chinese territory. And China also asserts that China exercises its national sovereignty to build infrastructure and deploy necessary defense capabilities on the islands and reefs in the South China Sea, and to conduct patrols in the waters of Diaoyu Islands in the East China Sea. And what is the significance of the sea is Taiwan Strait is a critical maritime choke point. Taiwan Strait, it's between the China and Taiwan. You can look on the map. And this region is home to undersea cables that are important for the global digital economy. So the internet cables, undersea cables are there in this region. And as per the US Energy Information Administration in 2023, 10 billion barrels of petroleum and petroleum products and 6.7 trillion cubic feet of liquefied natural gas passed through the South China Sea. So because of that economic advantage, China is doing its aggressive policies and trying to occupy the territories near the South China Sea. And Japan's nationalization of the Senkaku Islands in 2012, China had imposed a ban on the export of rare earth minerals to Japan that time. And in 2023 also, the highest level of activity by the Chinese Coast Guard in the contiguous zone of Senkakus. And owing to China's assertive foreign policy, its relationship with South Korea, Taiwan, and Japan has deteriorated rapidly. Now the Japan, Taiwan, and Korea, the US is supporting them, and Australia is also supporting them. And the power symmetry between China and South China Sea claimant countries is large, and it is growing continuously. So China's Navy is also the largest naval force in the world by numbers. And the tactics that played by the China is dangerous and aggressive maneuvers at sea, harassing resupply missions, ramming vessels, collisions, and water cannons, and military grade lasers also. So these tactics are known as grey zone operations. So pushing its claims in the exclusive economic zone of Philippines also. And so China has been very active in pushing its claims regarding that. And overall, this article is about the Chinese Coast Guard ships, about the glory of China in occupying all the surrounding territories. And this article, they have given that China's lays claim to 90% of South China Sea believed to be rich in oil and gas resources. So in this image, they have given about the Gulf of Tonkin, Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines, Manila, and some other countries. Just locate these countries on the map. And what has been the response from original countries? Because China has the highest Coast Guard ships, and also the capacity is so heavy and so large. And it's about, for example, the Chinese vessel. It is about the length of 541 feet long and displaces about 12,000 tons, which is 3 times of the main ship of the US Coastal Guard. And in July, China conducted naval exercises with Russia in the South China Sea to demonstrate the support that it enjoys over it while projecting its claims. And China claims in the South China Sea lack a legal basis. It is just claiming the parts of India also, but the stance that China is taking is very aggressive. And what has been the response from regional countries are, first, they are building their defense capabilities. Defense spending has increased across the Indo-Pacific with regional countries trying to catch up for China. And also, for example, the Japan wants to double its defense expenditure by 2027, and the Philippines too is ramping up its defense capabilities, and it is investing in anti-ship and BrahMos missile from it is importing from India. And second, the regional countries are responding to China's activities at sea. From 2016 to 2022, under President, the Philippines sought to minimize the friction between Manila and Beijing. And since 2022, the Philippines has been pushing back and publicizing these incidents. So these regional countries also, they are engaged in a battle of narratives. And thirdly, Philippines, Japan, South Korea are treaty allies of the US, as we have discussed. And the US and Philippines have enhanced their cooperation in South China Sea to historic levels and expanded cooperation in domains such as training and joint exercises. And they are working with Australia and Japan also with a name called Squad. So these things are there. And overallly, it's all, this article is about the China's claims. And China's have historical claims. It's about strategic security, economic security, and how, why it is doing is, in what ways it's violating maritime borders, by what methods are militarization methods, and US involvement is also there for other countries supporting to stop China's aggressive nature. And we'll switch to the next article. So in page number 14, L69 G4 countries seek urgent reforms of United Nations Security Council. So now, after completion of UNSC, we'll discuss entire what happened in UNSC and all. Now there are some keywords. We'll just explore those keywords. L69 and G4 countries seek urgent reform of UNSC. So now we'll be knowing what is L69 countries, what are G4 countries, and what is C10 group of 10 African countries. Those things we'll be knowing. It might help for prelims. So what are L69 group? So L69 group is a coalition of developing countries from the continents of Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean Sea, Asia, and also the Pacific, pushing for reform of the United Nations Security Council to make it more democratic and representative of the current global order. And what are the objectives is it advocates, the L69 advocates for expanding both the permanent and non-permanent membership of the Security Council. That is first thing. And also it aims to include developing countries and those from the global south. And this group will focus on giving more voice to African, Latin American, and small island nations in global decision making. And they support for G4 also. The L69 group generally supports the G4 countries, and G4 countries include Brazil. Brazil is in South America. Germany is in Europe. India, we know India, and Japan. Japan is just right side of the China, east side of the China will be Japan. And beside North Korea, South Korea, it will be the Japan. Just locate in your maps. And G4 countries, Brazil, Germany, India, Japan, those things are there. And what are the differences between L69 and G4 are? The G4 focuses on obtaining permanent UNSC seats for its members, whereas the L69 group has a broader goal for overall UNSC reforms, including permanent representation for developing nations from Africa, Latin America, and small island nations. And there is other term that is given in the article, C10 group of 10 African countries. So what is C10 is? C10 is a committee of 10 group from 10 African countries. It is formed to advocate for UN Security Council reforms on behalf of the African Union. And these countries represents Africa's collective position known as Ejulvini Consensus. And now we'll see what are the 10 countries. One is Algeria. Algeria is in the top of the Africa. Next, Equatorial Guinea, Kenya, Libya, Namibia, Republic of Congo, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Uganda, and Zambia. So these are the 10 countries consisting of C10. And what are the objectives of C10 is C10 advocates for 2 permanent seats with veto power for African countries on the UNSC, and an increase in the number of non-permanent seats from Africa. And there is Ejulvini Consensus, which is formed in 2005, and this position demands for fair representation for Africa also. And it regularly engages in diplomatic efforts. And why the C10 is important is Africa's marginalization, because Africa, it remained the only region without permanent representation on the UNSC, despite contributing significantly to UN peacekeeping missions, and being a region, because it is a region where many UNSC resolutions are implemented, and this have no permanent representation. So C10 is very important in representation of the permanent representation of the UNSC, and that is there. And next is just scroll. In page number 15, Constitution has thrived over the years as a living document, says Chief Justice of India. So this is a PYQ also, how is the Constitution is a living document, and in Lakshmikant also they have given the explanation why Constitution is a living document. Why Constitution is a living document is because of its amendability. So there are Article 368 to ensure flexibility and adaptability over time, that is there. And 42nd, some amendments are 42nd Amendment Act is called mini Constitution, 7th or 74th Amendment, Panchayat Raj, those things are there. And also many judicial interpretations are there, and the basic structure, fundamental rights, directive principles, federalism, cooperative federalism. And in interpretation also there are like right to privacy and Mahatma Gandhi Narega, education, employment. Those things are also added as a fundamental rights. And the Constitution is been evolving, and also recently the inclusion of SC, ST, BC, forming the separate commissions in 1992's 2018 OBC Commission. So those things are there, and so it is updating. That is why it's a living document. And last article for this today's newspaper is last page, World Rabies Day, tracing the journey from myths to modern medicine. So, rabies overview. Rabies is a viral disease that affects the central nervous system, and it leads to the inflammation of the brain, and it is nearly always fatal once symptoms appear. So it is preventable through time living. And the rabies comes from the animals like dogs, bats, foxes, raccoons, and cats, and it comes by scratches or open wounds. So how it transmits by animal bite, and the incubation period for rabies can range for a few days to several months also, and so it might lead to coma and leading to death also. It's a so dangerous disease. And how we can like reduce is that timely vaccination of street dogs, whatever the animals roam on the, especially the dogs. And because these days the dogs are more in the street dogs are more, especially, so catching them and preventing the dog bites is very important. And we have seriously witnessing the dogs attack on the children also. And this, the 19th century marked as a turning point in the battle against rabies with the advent of germ theory. And Pasteur turned his attention to rabies in the 1880s. So some gist is given. That's not important for UPSC. And there is one concept called One Health approach. And One Health approach, it recognizes the interconnection between people, animals, plants, and the shared environment. So that is there. You can look on the One Health. Last year they have introduced One Health. Just look on that. And so, to achieve the dream of zero rabies deaths by 2030, India needs to establish a robust surveillance mechanism, including GIS-enabled tracking, ensuring a successful coordination among key institutions such as wildlife, urban, rural ministries, animal husbandry, environmental ministry, panchayat raj, etc. So, coordination can bring to mitigate or to avoid the dog bites, to avoid the rabies. And that's all for today. Thank you. Good night. Have a great night.